Go, sure.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. So happy you are here with us today. It is a warm one again outside, so it's good. We were able to all stay in our places of business or home, enjoying the air conditioning. I did get a text earlier from my facilities manager this morning, letting me know that at 8 o'clock, my office was 85 degrees. So it's a lot better now. So thank you. We're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance, and I want to make sure I get the flag in the right. Is that the right direction?
That's good enough.
Good enough.
Vince is saying no. Okay, ready? I pledge allegiance
to
the flag of the United States
of America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under
under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, do we have any guests today? Mary, would you be willing to say hello to everybody, because you will soon be joining us officially as a club member, but I would love it if you would just say a little something to the club.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Mary Bowling. I'm the new executive director for Breakthrough House, and I am a Rotarian for many years, most recently Rotary Club of Eastern Independence, Missouri. But I love Kansas. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in Topeka with this job, so I'm maybe moving here. So, and formerly Rotary Club 13 downtown Kansas City, which I believe was the 13th club ever opened, I think. So there's a lot of history there. So I love Rotary, and I'm so looking forward to meeting all of you.
Thank you, Mary. So just a few announcements. Just a reminder that we are asking everyone who attends the in-person meetings to please wear a mask until you are at your table and are eating. We want to be able to be safe and be able to stay meeting in person, and I'm staying on top of the numbers, that the community indicators, and so we feel like this is a way that we can continue the meetings in person, or in our hybrid model, but definitely have the in-person component. We have two new members, John Noble and Brett Robinson. Both have joined our meetings before and have attended, and we're super excited. The board approved them joining their applications to join the club. So keep up the good work for everybody who's recruiting. So thank you very much. Please welcome them to the club when you see them next. John Wall will be reaching out to each of them to prepare a short bio that is going in our first Road to Topeka. So keep your eyes open for that. We're going to be providing a little bit of an opportunity so you get to learn a little bit more about our new members. I wanted to share some information about Mike Warswick's funeral service. I did email everybody earlier in the week. So the funeral service will be held on Monday, August 16th at 1 p.m. at Dove Cremations and Funerals in the Southwest Chapel. Interment will follow immediately after the service at Memorial Park Cemetery, and the family will receive friends from 4 to 6 p.m. on Sunday, August 15th at Dove Cremations and Funeral Services. So if you have the opportunity and want to, please. He was an incredible Rotarian for us, and an incredible member of the community who really made his mark. And if we can support his family, it would be much appreciated. Steve wanted me to remind everybody there's the next rubbish roundup is this Saturday at 10 a.m. and the group is meeting at the Seward ramp. So if you have an opportunity, please join them. On a happier note, Carol Wheeler has been asked to serve as a Paul Harris Society Director for Districts 5710. Very excited about that. She was asked by our District Governor, Vern Henrick. So Congratulations, Carol. I'm so happy you're here today, and we're excited to have a member of our club as part of that. Would you like to share anything?
Well, thank you. I was really pleased to agree to do this. I've been a member of the Paul Harris Society for quite a while. I had not met Vern before he called me yesterday. He's a fundraiser, and as many of you know, I am as well, being on several boards where I do fundraising. And as we talked through it, and he convinced me to do this, he said at the end, I loved it. He said, well, you can tell I'm a fundraiser. Nobody can tell me no. So at any rate, I actually was very pleased to do it. So you'll probably be hearing more from me through the club about Paul Harris and the Paul Harris Society. But this is a district-wide function, so I'll be speaking to some other clubs as well and just trying to promote Paul Harris Fellowship and ultimately the Paul Harris Society through this, at least through this next year. So I was thrilled to do it, and of course, very happy to do it representing our club as well. So thank you, Maria.
Thank you,
Marie.
Carol. We're super excited for you.
And
Roger,
Roger.
did you have a question?
For
Yeah.
Carol, we are going to do a foundation program next week at our own club. If you would like
Okay.
to participate, just give me a call or an email and we'll plug you right in.
That sounds great. And, you know, as you know, I'm a member of the board of the foundation as well. So I'll be representing us in 2 ways. So, all right. Thanks, Roger.
I have to say, I am really enjoying the beginning of my year because so many people have offered to support our work and to keep us engaged. So I love how many people have, when any of us have asked, the answer has been yes. And what can I do? So this just is even more representative of that because we were being asked even beyond our club. So thank you. So those are my announcements. And Vince, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our speaker.
Thank you. I'm taking attendance too as we're going here. So, well, I don't know about all of you, but I have just been amazed at all of the discussion about real estate, the market, how homes are selling so rapidly. And the Topeka has been listed as one of the hottest real estate markets in the country. And so I thought it'd be timely and very interesting to learn more about it and why. And so we're very pleased today to have our speaker, Linda Briden, with us, who is the Executive Director of the Sunflower Association of Realtors. Now, I've known about the organization for some time, but they provide multiple listing services, education, and member benefits to 650 association real estate professionals in Northeast Kansas. I had no idea 650 realtors were engaged in Northeast Kansas. She's currently on the board of Go Topeka, Momentum 2022 Quality of Place Work Group, and the Topeka Housing Study Implementation Committee. Before joining the Sunflower Realtors Association, she was Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Visit Topeka Incorporated. That's where I met Linda many years ago. I've been on the board of the Sunflower State Games for many years. And about 20 years ago, we put out an RFP to move the games out of Lawrence, and Linda showed up at the meeting and made a presentation, and Topeka won the Sunflower State Games. So I've known her for a long time, and she's a big KU fan, just like I am. So she's a graduate of KU with a Bachelor of Science degree in education. So I'm very pleased to introduce a friend of mine. I'm sure many of you know her, Linda Briden. Linda?
Well, thank you very much, Vince. That was a nice introduction. And I'm going to try and share my screen, so yell out if you're not seeing it. So how's that?
Perfect.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to attend today and for sharing your time with me. There's a few things that I'll just state up front that I hope I can cover adequately today. I'm going to share a little bit about what the association is and what we do. Share a few real estate terms that you've probably read and heard. Sometimes I think they can be confusing. I know when I first started this job, I had no background in real estate whatsoever. And they would be talking a foreign language most of the time for about the first 3 months. So a lot of acronyms and information or terms that you don't use every day. But I also, I'm going to cover a little bit about what we're seeing in the current market, the reasons, perhaps some of the reasons for it, and moving forward, what we think might happen. So as Vince said, we are actually checked membership yesterday, and we're actually 675. We do cover counties in Kansas that are Brown, Nemaha, Jackson, Jefferson, Shawnee, Osage, Lyon, and Greenwood counties. So our members are spread out across those counties. A lot of times people interchange the terms realtor and a real estate agent, and they think it's the same thing. A realtor is not the same as an agent or a licensed agent. A licensed agent can sell real estate anywhere in Kansas as long as they have a valid license. However, they cannot use the term realtor unless they are a member of the National Association of Realtors. And when that happens, they are also a member of the state association and the local association, which Sunflower is the local association. So nationwide, there are approximately 1.5 million realtor members. And as you can imagine, we have a fairly loud voice at the table for policies surrounding housing and property tax and property benefits and all of that. So that is one of the things that the membership does advocate for, is the right of property buyers and sellers to protect those rights, and to advocate for policies that will uphold property rights. So the reason that we think all that is important is to protect and preserve the American dream of home ownership. Home ownership really has more potential and importance in communities and in people's lives than you would realize unless you really start reading some research. So with that, I would just share with you a few benefits of why I think we should all care about affordable and adequate housing. The benefits of home ownership are extensive. It's good for the economy. It's one of the best ways to build long-term wealth on a personal basis. The more property owners in a community, the broader the property tax base, which supports infrastructure and other community needs. And it's really a multiplier economically in the community, because for every home purchase, there's approximately a $60,000 direct and indirect spending in the local economy. So that's a big number if you stop and think about it. So homeowners are also typically better citizens, have higher levels of education, and their children typically go on to have higher levels of education. There's a lower crime rate within homeowner population. They tend to volunteer more and participate in civic activities at higher levels. And they add a stability to communities. I know when you drive around different areas, you can see what vacant properties and perhaps absent owners, how that can affect a community. Home ownership really brings a sense of stability. When you're embedded in the community, you take pride in that and you want to volunteer more and you take better care of your property if it belongs to you. And the stability really shows when you look at the average time a person moves. In the country, an average of 30% of renters, total number of renters moved in a year, within a year period. And at the same time of homeowners, only 5.2% of homeowners moved within a year's time. So it just brings a lot to stabilize the community and give a lot of benefits back. And some of these, and Vince, do we have time for questions later if they want? Hello?
We try to end by 1 o'clock, but sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, I'll try not to tally too long. Here's some of the terms that you're going to hear throughout my presentation, and some of them are pretty obvious and some of them might not be to you, but active listings are those that are currently on the market. You're going to get a different number every time you run that. You can run it daily or monthly. We get our statistics from Wichita State University Center for Real Estate, and we collect those. They provide them to us on a monthly basis for the month prior. We receive them on the 8th of the month. So what I'm sharing with you, some of what I'm sharing with you today will be for the month of July of 2021. So new listings are those that come on the market available for sale during that time that we're pulling statistics. So that also changes monthly. So that'll influence the market as well. Days on market is pretty easily understood. There's two measurements: average days on market, which I know you all know how to figure average, and then median days on market. The thought is that using median days on market is really a truer picture of how long it takes our properties to sell. And then month supply is basically how many houses are available on the market and how long would it take them to all be sold if no new listings came on the market. And then there's a balanced market, a buyer's market, or a seller's market, and we'll get into some of that here later on. But there's a lot of different things, as you know, that affects real estate as it does business and everything else. Affordability and availability of housing stock, whether the consumer feels comfortable with taking on a mortgage or not doing that at this point in time. Housing can be affected by economic growth and development or lack of it, or growth and development that's not well planned and well thought out. They call it smart growth, which implements several different factors when communities are looking to expand or looking at economic development and growth. And of course, mortgage rates, we've been very lucky that those have stayed at a really unusually low rate for a long period of time. Inflation, unemployment, election cycles. I know presidential elections can really have a large effect on the economy and consumer confidence and a lot of different things. So it's not just one area that can make the market go up, down, be strong, or be soft. But right now, I don't know, I might be the only one old enough that remembers this movie. But this is kind of the way I think the housing market appears at this time. Sort of like quick draw and last man standing sometimes if you're looking to purchase a house. But the good, the good, the bad, and the ugly is really kind of what I'm going to try and share with you today. The good we'll talk about first. As I had said a little bit earlier, mortgage rates are really and exceptionally low and have been for several years. If you remember double-digit mortgage rates, I know I do. 1975 is when my husband and I bought our first house in Des Moines, Iowa, and our rate was 9.05%. Then in 1983, we left Des Moines and moved here to Topeka, and our mortgage, the average mortgage rate in 83 was 13.24. And now they're hovering around, depending on down payment and what type of loan, but they're hovering around 3.9 to 4.3. And they've been in that range for several years. Every year, economists predict that they can't remain there any longer, but they certainly have. So that's good for the home buyer. Price appreciation. Due to the lack of inventory and economy's been fairly healthy, homes in Topeka on average have appreciated about 4% annually. And that's been over the last 5 to 6 years. They're projected by Wichita State University Center for Real Estate to increase in value another 4.1% this year. And I don't see any end in sight. I would be very surprised if that changed in the next 2 or 3 years. And if you look at the median price and median price in June of this year and median price in June of last year, you can see the difference of over $21,000. So that's a lot of money, big difference. As Vince said, Topeka really has gotten a lot of notoriety and a lot of press nationally for the market here. Markets are pretty strong everywhere and crazy, but it was nice to see that these headlines were shared by Realtor.com and 4 different articles since February through June. Even the Wall Street Journal got involved and listed Topeka as one of the top real estate market, or the top real estate market, excuse me, in Kansas, and gave us a lot of good press on that. They based that from information from Realtor.com that measures real estate market during during a period of time, but they look at economic health and quality of life in those communities. So eventually here now we come to the bad. You would probably say, well, that all sounds really great. How can any of that be bad? If home prices are increasing, mortgage rates are low, I'm going to get a lot of money for my house if I sell it. But that's all well and good if you're the seller. It's not so great if you're the buyer. If you remember in the terminology, I talked about balanced market, buyer's market, seller's market, and active listings. Basically, active listings in Topeka, Shawnee County have been declining for the past 10 years. I took this job July of 2012. And the first market report I saw in July of 2012, there were 1,507 active listings on the market in July. By 2015, same report, same time, 977 active listings. And the most recent stats that we just got this week for July of this year, there's 233 active listings on the market in our MLS in Topeka, Shawnee County. So what is going on and why is this happening? Basically, I mean, you can tell new listings haven't been keeping up with sales. New listings add to that number of the stock of active listings, but while sales remove active listings. So active listings drop off sometimes as well because of expired. People decide to take their house off the market. It's not going to sell. They're going to wait. They just don't know if they're ready to sell. So basically, you can think of active listings as the level of water in a bathtub. And new listings are the additional water that comes out of the spigot. And during this time, well, all this is going on, sales are the water going down the drain. So for the past several years, we simply haven't been adding enough water to the tub to offset what's draining out. These are all important factors that we look at when we get the housing report. They really give a pretty good snapshot of the health of the housing market at any given time or during the time that the stats were drawn, which I said is month previous. So what month supply means, I mean, you can read the definition, but basically if no more houses were put on the market, how long would it take for the supply available to be sold? And then days on market, obviously I said median days is the most used term and truer picture. So how long median time of any listing on the market before it's sold. And then market here is whether it's balanced or not. A balanced market would mean that there's no advantage to the buyer or the seller when they're in the middle of the transaction because there's adequate supply for the demand on the other side of the buyer. Now, obviously in a buyer's market, there's less buyers than there are houses on the market. So that affects the price. Prices are going to be lower. Appreciation will not be as quick, less profit perhaps for the sellers, depending on how long they've been in the home. But what we're seeing right now is definitely a seller's market, which means there's not near enough inventory for the demand of buyers. This ripple effect makes market prices go up. A lot of competition for homes, especially in certain price ranges that are most desirable for that entry-level buyer or middle income or move up buyer. So that's where I have seen such a change in the inventory available and in certain price ranges. As you'll see, I compared over the last 3 years. The price range in this 25 to 50,000, those typically are fixer-uppers, investment buyers that will purchase those, flip them, or try and make money from investing in those types of properties. Now, the 50 to 99, that can fall into that first-time home buyer, that maybe workforce housing, you know, our police, our firefighters, our factory workers whose wages we would consider workforce. This could be an opportunity for them, or again, a first-time home buyer. And this market right here, the 100,000 to 125 or 150 is a really strong demand. Now, these numbers are the number of houses in these price ranges that were available on the market in the month of July. So you'll see there's only 15 houses available in that 100 to 125 price range, and only 17 in each of the next two. And then the price range where people might be a step-up home or a forever home for a family, the $250 to $350 or $400 range is also tight. If you compare the 200 and 250 to 3 years ago, same time, you can see that 62 homes were available, and then last year 28 and 25. Of course, COVID can affect these numbers, although the housing market really did remain strong during the COVID pandemic. The month's supply is where the concern is, and when we talk about inventory, you can see, if you remember when I said month's supply is how long it would take for the number of houses here in this price category to sell completely, where this would be changed to 0. And it's about 2 weeks. And you can see how this continues on up and down pretty much every price range. And then when you go look at the same price range, 125 to 150, the median days on the market is very, very low. This continues to go down, 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 which makes it really competitive in these middle price ranges for home buyers. So that's the bad. Now, the ugly, the fact that this problem is not specific to Topeka or Shawnee County or even Kansas. This has been a growing trend for the last 12 to 15 years, from what I have read. Typically, the housing shortage would be supplemented across the market by new construction or new development or things like that. But I applaud the city for implementing this strategy for a city housing study that was done by Development Strategies out of St. Louis. And they did a lot of focus groups, listening sessions that incorporated a lot of people in the industry. I know that some of our realtors were involved, our developers, rebuilders, or city planning, a lot of entities that the spider web of housing incorporates. So what came across was what they wanted to find out was the shortage in the demand across the city. They wanted to find out where the economy helped or hindered as far as wages, affordable housing for those that don't make the money that's needed perhaps to purchase, also rental rates, that sort of thing. So what they found was there's really a shortage across all housing types. There's a shortage for single family for sale, single family rentals, single family multi-rentals, multi-rental, multi-family rentals, and then market rate rentals, which are more like an upper scale condominium. So, and also senior housing. So I had not really considered the fact that apartments, condos, that sort of thing might be a need in the city. But according to the trends of how people are living and what their needs are, that is a problem for Topeka. So the question is, how did we get here? Why? How did it happen? And as with everything, there's not one reason, the combination of several things over many years. Nationally, over the past few years, new housing starts been very low, in fact, historically low. They've remained at the rate of about 500 to 600,000 units per year for the past 3 or 4 years, when what was really needed in the normal pace is 1.5 to 1.6 million. So you can see already there's a gap. Older properties that have been destroyed or are brought down because of age or condition have not been replaced. People also, as a boomer, we're in place longer. We don't want to go to a nursing home because, we're never going to get old. We're boomers. So they are staying in their homes longer. They're making accommodations to make that happen. Some have children that have moved back in for whatever reason, and they need the space that they're in. There's the worry about building material costs, which we've seen skyrocket since COVID. They are slowly coming back down, but not to the point where they were before. And then people aren't moving because they don't know if they have a place to go. There's not options that are attractive enough. So Topeka really did get pretty hard hit in several different areas. 1960 saw Forbes close. That was very hard on the economy because that was a big piece of population and big loss as far as money in the community. And then years ago, there was the process of redlining, and you can see these areas here that are outlined in red are still areas that are concerns today. Redlining was basically the systemic denial of services, usually banking and insurance, but could be medical, could be grocery stores, could have been all kinds of services needed by citizens. And this began in the 1930s when the Federal Home Loan Bank began to put together some criteria for underwriting mortgages. Well, what they decided they needed to do was to categorize communities or neighborhoods as hazardous or declining. And then those areas were not granted mortgages. A lot of times it was based on race. They couldn't get a loan to buy the house that they wanted. And all this did was propagate and enhance the decline of neighborhoods and areas that never had a chance to really thrive. And as you can tell, the areas that we currently are dealing with are those same areas that were redlined back in the 1930s. So we are still reaping the repercussions of that policy, which was a horrible policy. Also in Topeka, the investment and development has been at the outer edges of the city. There's not been any real development within the core, the urban core, since the 1960s, really. So that took away investment from the inner core, and older neighborhoods in and around downtown continued to deteriorate. And then new home construction just has not been what we would like to see. I think it's starting to go up a little bit, but 2008 was the crash or the recession or whatever you wanted to call it. And a lot of the home builders in this area moved. They either closed their doors or they went elsewhere. Manhattan was building at that time for Fort Riley project. Lawrence always seems to have a lot of new construction, home construction, but in that area that I talked about, that was a real need, like that 125 to 225 area, there's no profit for a home builder right now in that price range. They can't make any money, and they're going to make even less money with the cost of building supplies at this current time. So it's just not happening.
Linda, you have like 1 minute.
Okay, what I am happy to say is we're working on a solution. The city did implement the housing study. It came back with a lot of really good information, and the city council has taken on the recommendations of the study and in several areas, which I have here on the screen. So I think it's been recognized and it's being worked on. And so for that, I am pleased and happy. So that's really all that I had. That turned out just about right. But anyway, I would encourage you to take a look at the executive housing summary. You can find it on the city Topeka webpage. It's very interesting, and I think you would get a lot out of it.
So we could probably take maybe 2 questions. Does somebody have a question real quick before we end our
A
meeting?
real question. Topeka is primarily pickup truck builders because no one seems to have the capital or partnership with the city to be able to go out and do a large track, at least locally. So how effective or aggressive is a city in trying to work with builders to help them open up new tracts of ground for homes?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't have an answer to that, but you're right. I know that part of the discussion on implementation is, are there policies that are restricting the goals that they want to accomplish with this study? Are there incentives that might be considered? I know that the governor signed in the First-Time Home Buyers Act for a savings plan, and that's all great, that's good, but if there's nothing to buy, I don't know how effective the savings plan is. So I'm hoping they will look at incentivizing developers and builders somehow, either through the state or locally or a combination of both.
One more question, anybody? Okay.
I used to be a home builder. There should be some kind of bonds that they offer, but I don't know if they've already done that with, whenever you're building, generally there'll be some kind of a levy or a bond that's put in place for the builder to get incentives on tax breaks. But I don't know who's would be in charge of that, but that would be something important for them to look at, I would think.
Thank you, Mary. This was really interesting. I have been wondering about the market recently. And so thank you so very much, Linda. I really appreciated the full scope of the presentation, and I love that we've recorded it, so any club members who weren't able to join us will be able to see it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So our meeting next week is an in-person and Zoom meeting at Kay's Garden. And our speaker is our own Roger Eshelman, who will be speaking about the Rotary International Foundation. Please be on the lookout for the RSVP email and Vince's email about the meeting coming up. And I know we just have a minute, but I was very happy to see so many of our club members here. And I'll do a quick shout out because I haven't seen Lon in a while, but it was lovely to see Lon Lewis on the call. So thank you for joining us, Lon. I know you've been spending a lot of time in Colorado. It was wonderful to see you. And with that, let's go with the 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be
Will it be
beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be fun
And kind.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.